Hey everyone, welcome to the lecture on stability and balance. And so let's just go ahead and get started. And so before we really start talking about stability and balance, I want you guys to consider, kind of records when it comes to sports. And so one record that's a big talked about thing of if humans can achieve something is can they run a marathon, so 26.2 miles in under 2 hours. So pause this video, download the PowerPoint and watch this video, or you can go to YouTube and simply just Google the title or search the title and watch this little short introduction to it. And then you may, before you come back, want to even Google 2 hour marathon and see what you find as it comes up, because things have definitely changed since this has been shot. So pause the video, go watch that, and then come back. So now, hopefully that you've watched the video, we'll kind of continue with just something for you to think about. And so what I would have you think about is perfect, is I want you guys to think about um, sporting achievements. So when it seems like things like the mile record, how fast someone can run a mile, it seems like humans are getting faster, better, and stronger. Do you believe this is true? If so, or explain your answer. What factors do you think have helped people to shatter records quite amazingly sometimes? And then what are some records you think will stand for a long time, if not forever, that can never be broken? So just pause the video, think about that, and then come back to it. So when we start this conversation on stability and balance, we kind of have to loop in the center of gravity. It's really the basis for stability and balance. And so we've talked about it in the past, but remember the center of gravity is simply a point around which a body's weight is equally balanced in all directions. And a lot of times this is referred to as the center of mass. So you've experienced the center of gravity and not even realized it probably if you've ever tried to balance something on your finger, like a pen or a pencil. And once you kind of move it back and forth and you get it to stay on your finger without moving, you can spin it around and it will stay on your finger because you have found that center of gravity, the point of equal balance. And so everything has a center of gravity, from shovels to baseballs to bats to anything like that. And it's simply the point, that single point that there's equal weight on every side in all directions. And so in here, the blue dot kind of represents where that center of gravity probably is for each of these. And again, it's not always in the middle because you're trying to balance that weight out. And so it's really important for us to know that because those play a direct role into stability and balance. And so when you hear the word stability, stability is how resistive we are to a disruption in our equilibrium or someone changing that center of gravity or moving us kind of from that center of gravity or shifting where that may be. And so our balance, if we look at what balance is, it's our ability to be able to control that. So stability is the resistance to disruption of equilibrium, and balance is the ability to be able to control our equilibrium. So if something is very stable, it's very hard to disrupt that equilibrium, kind of shift its direction where it is kind of positioned and sat. And if we have good balance, we're able to control where that equilibrium is. And so together, those kind of come together in a lot of sports to where we need to be both stable and balanced. And so that is kind of seen here with the gymnast in a handstand position. Um, she needs both stability to resist her being kind of shifted. Everything in her wants to kind of fall from this upright or unupright position, but she also needs balance to be able to control that and shift it so that she doesn't move. So when it comes to our stability and balance, one of the major things that plays a role in our stability is what we call the base of support. And so the base of support is a location on the body or an object where most of the weight is supported. And so the larger the area the base of support covers, the more stable an object will be. So in this, you can see the person with a wide stance has a wide base of support, and then the narrow stance has a narrow base of support. And so think about which one would be easier to kind of push over. And so this kind of directly relates to stability. However, there is a trade-off. The more stable we are, typically the less mobile we are. Think about who would have a harder time getting out of the way of a moving object, especially if they had to walk to get there. And so these are big factors to kind of note. So additionally, when it comes to our stability and balance, we need to know what's going to increase that stability. So body mass can. So if you just weigh more, it's harder to move something that weighs more. So body mass can. Adding equipment onto something can make that more difficult because it's increasing your mass momentarily. Friction also increases stability. So if I put you on carpet versus on a sheet of ice, think about which one it's easier to move you on or move something on. Again, changing that stability. Um, and so when it comes to this, we also have to realize that increasing the size of the base of support, as we talked about earlier, can help with that stability, but it's going to be in the direction of the external force. And so you can see here that they've widened their stance. And so if they're pushed from the side, it's going to be harder. That foot has to get moved much further before it crosses this line and causes them to fall. When we're talking about width, but if we push them from the front, kind of where it's not as wide, it's a lot easier to tip someone over that way. And so this is why if people are going to get hit kind of maybe more in the chest or the back, you'll see their feet not only be shoulder width apart, but they'll offset them. So one foot will be behind the other to, again, increase that base of support and increasing stability. So to continue, we also kind of want to talk about the balance. And so balance is being able to shift that stability kind of in motion. So we can kind of lean to one side. It's more the active portion of changing that equilibrium. And so that plays a big role in kind of keeping upright and things like that. And so swimmers position their center of gravity close to the front of the base of their support to prepare to kind of push themselves off of a diving platform to start their swim. And so they need balance to be able to stay upright. And then once they're ready to go, they can shift and push that balance in order to kind of propel themselves forward using their energy. And so with that, you can see that stability and balance are quite related. And balance is simply being able to keep that center of gravity over the base of our support so that we can remain stable. And so again, there's always a trade-off on if we have a wider stability where it's easier to maintain our balance, we lose some mobility. And so as in all activity, we're trying to decrease that base of support, lowering our stability, but hopefully increasing our balance to be able to kind of maintain our center of gravity over that base of support so that we can continue doing our activity. And so with that, we kind of wrap up our lecture on stability and balance. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Other than that, we will see you in class shortly.